What's going on, Imperials? Emperor Cubone here. I have many fond memories of the Sinnoh region, with it being the first Pokémon game I ever got to play. I had loved Pokémon long before that and watching the TV show and playing with the toys and cards, but I never had a console to play video games as a child, so Diamond and Pearl were the first games I ever got to play all the way through. Sinnoh gave us many brand new Pokémon, and gave us the largest helping yet of evolutions to previous generations. Despite all that, Sinnoh Pokémon are not without their problems. So, here are the top 6 Sinnoh Pokémon I have a problem with. Number 6. Provopass. I stated my issues with Nosepass in my Hoenn video, and all of those obviously carry over to Provopass, but there's even more problems with this Pokémon. First of all, upon evolution, Provopass gains control over 3 brand new things called mini-noses. These units fly around being controlled by magnetism, apparently, and are used to attack foes. That may be one of the most ridiculous things I have ever heard. We have a nose-themed Pokémon, so how do we up the ante? By giving him more noses! That's one offense. The next is his mustache. Are we serious about this? I know it's supposed to be metal filings and such, but if his magnetism is so strong that it picks up those tiny things, wouldn't there at least be a couple of Aeron stuck to it? They already did the Easter Island statue, so now they had to dress one up like Mario? Provopass had a tough concept to work from in the first place, but it's unfortunate when an evolution is even worse than what came before. Number 5. JRuby. Grass-type Pokémon often get overlooked due to an overabundance of continued predictable type pairings and the myriad of common weaknesses that they're faced with. This makes it especially hard for regular grass types to make themselves stand out in any way when there are clearly better options. That problem befalls many, but in Sinnoh it is most prominent for JRuby and Cherrim. Sure, Cherrim is one of Gardenia's Pokémon, and has the whole change forms in the sun thing, but that doesn't stop me from forgetting about it and its pre-evolution. JRuby is this tiny Pokémon that's really just a fruit, being the cherry Pokémon. It looks like a cute enough little friend until you take a closer look and see that it has a second head growing off of it. Wheezing makes sense for multiple heads because he's a mutant deformed by toxins. Even Hydreigon makes some sense. I know cherries come bunched together and all, but that doesn't mean we have to make a sideshow out of it. It's one thing to be part of the same body, like Girafarig, but when it evolves, it only has one head. This poor thing was forced into a shared existence, only to have it die. Numerous Dex entries say that just before it evolves, it absorbs all the nutrients in the bulb as it shrivels up. That's not symbiosis. That's some kind of reverse parasite. I have no idea why they decided to give such disturbing details to this random Pokémon, but perhaps it's better if it remains forgotten. Number 4. Purugly. Glameow is a standard cat Pokémon for the 4th generation. It's an alright one with a corkscrew tail. It has promise, and you wonder if it might turn into some other large cat. And then you weep tears of fright and despair as you witness the atrocity that has befallen your once cute friend. Purugly, as in the name, is extremely ugly. Glameow shows attention to its appearance, but it really let itself go after evolution. Its hair gets all frizzled and disheveled. It even carelessly bends its whiskers, which it needs. Worst of all, it takes its weird tail clamp and purposefully makes itself look obese. This is supposedly to look intimidating, but I can think of plenty of jungle cats that seem threatening enough without blowing up like a Snorlax. There have been Pokémon before that look uglier as they evolve, but they're supposed to. I mean, Garbodor is made out of garbage. Of course he's going to be ugly. I just don't believe that a Pokémon that was so previously concerned about their looks would let themselves go and become so unappealing. If they just wanted to do some kind of reverse ugly duckling thing, then they probably should have just used actual ducks. Number 3. Rhyperior. Rhyhorn and Rhydon are an excellent pair of Pokémon from the 1st generation. They both have exceptional designs and a wide range of attacks and a myriad of uses. All things considered, these Pokémon seemed pretty complete, which makes it slightly puzzling when they decided to try and add on to their evolutionary line. But it becomes even more baffling once you see that the creature they came up with has almost nothing in common with the other two. The coloring and general body shape does not make it appear to be a clean transition from one form to the next. Rhyhorn is a bipedal rhino generic monster thing, but there's just way too much going on here. It's got big shoulder pads, a wrecking ball for a tail, giant spikes coming from its elbows, what looks like a utility belt, and it can shoot rocks out of its palms. What? Whose genius idea was that bit of biology? That makes as much sense as a far-fetched evolution that shoots leaks from its eyes. I know that trading it with a protector changes it, but all the other trait evolutions from this generation don't alter anyone else so drastically that you have trouble recognizing what evolutionary family they belong to. This thing looks more like a Power Ranger Zord than a Pokémon. Rhyhorn and Rhyhorn are fantastical, but at least they look natural. If they really had to add on to this line, it should have been in a believable way. A simple, natural progression, something like the sorely missed opportunity Rhyceratops. It's unfortunate that once decent Pokémon now have to be burdened with this truly Rhyferior addition. Number 2. Fermi. Almost every generation has its 3-stage bug line early in the game. Looking at pictures of the Fermi family before the games came out, I was just sure that that's what they were going to be, but then came the ever-forgettable Kricketot to fill the first route bug-type role. So Fermi's just a 3-stage line for later in the game. Not exactly. Even though it looks like Fermi would make a nice, clean 3-stage family, it instead becomes a complicated mess. You see, Fermi evolves into either Mothim or Wormadam depending on its gender. While it's dumb that Wormadam is somehow not a cocoon stage, they have done bridged evolutions before. But it gets worse because of Fermi's gimmick of changing his outer cloaks depending on his environment. There's grass, sand, and trash cloaks, and Wormadam has this feature too. Fermi's cloak changes if you move to a different area, but once it evolves, its cloak stays the same, but changes Wormadam's type. You keeping up? I just don't understand why this isn't a 3-stage line. Just for the sake of being different? We already had diverging evolutions with Beautifly and Dustox, and we already had gender-specific evolution with Vespiquen. So it's not different, it's just worse options of things we already had. The only unique thing that they had were the cloaks, and that easily could have been carried over to Mothim. Was it just too hard to find 2 more designs for this bug? It's not like that was a problem for Vivian. They've shaken things up before, but I think this time it came out more as a trip with them hastily scooping up any part they thought might be salvageable. Number 1. Licky. There are no excuses for this one. No gimmicks or disturbing dex entries. This is just a steaming pile of abysmal decisions. Lickitung was an alright Pokémon. Not fantastic, but also not the worst on the block. After all, it could be worse for a Pokémon based on a body part. Lickitung is a kind of pink dinosaur thing with a tongue twice the size of its body. And while not believable, necessarily, it does somehow seem strangely natural. Lickitung probably sits somewhere near the top of Pokémon that don't need an evolution, but it got one anyway. And oh, what a disappointment it was. Licky. The name alone is cringeworthy. Did a child name this? Hey everyone, say hello to Toga, Mag, and Yan. And oh look, another Mag. I honestly think Tung would have been a better name. But enough about its name. On to its wretched, misshapen body. Lickitung got a lot taller, but it also got much tubbier. This poor thing is clearly unable to go faster than a brisk waddle. Lickitung evolves while knowing the move Rollout, but the only way I can see it doing that is on its side. And the cool stomach patterns that used to be on Lickitung? Gone. Now he's got a giant bib because he's such a messy eater. But good news, if you check his stomach, you'll see he's got full Wi-Fi signal. And his tail looks like it actually shrunk. And the hair, I guess that's what you'd call it. Are you trying to blend in with some Jigglypuff? Lickitung had a very distinguished bald look, but this new comb-over is just a disgrace. And worst of all, the tongue, the entire point of this Pokémon, actually looks shorter. His thing is supposed to be having a long tongue, but it looks like he'd have trouble reaching his toes with that thing. That'd be like Arby's running out of roast beef, which I've actually seen happen, by the way. There sure is a lot of room in there to hide a tongue, and I hope for his sake it's there, but that doesn't even matter if he's too lazy to bother getting it out. Somehow Greninja's stupid tongue scarf does a better job of being what this Pokemon should convey. There were so many evolutions in the 4th generation that improved upon Pokemon, and took old people that I may not have given a second glance, and made me go back and appreciate them more. Well, that's certainly the case here. I definitely appreciate Lickitung so much more after being subjected to the horrors of Licky. Well, there are my top 6 Sinnoh Pokemon I have a problem with. What did you think of this list? What other Pokemon do you have a problem with from Sinnoh? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!